How does a man disappear for 12 years in Black Ops, only to return and find the family he built erasing him from their lives? Why did my wife become a stranger, working as a maid in the mansion I bought for her, while my own children treated her like a ghost? They thought the quiet old man who came home was powerless, but they forgot what I was trained to do when it's time for justice. The wrought iron gates of the Ashwood estate swung open with the same mechanical precision I remembered, but everything else felt foreign. 12 years of classified operations in places that don't exist on maps had changed me, but I hadn't expected my own home to become unrecognizable territory. I stood in the grand foyer, taking in the marble floors that still gleamed under the crystal chandelier I'd personally selected before my deployment. The mansion's $9.5 million price tag had been worth it then, a fortress for my family, a symbol of the life I was fighting to protect. Now it felt like a mausoleum. "Excuse me, sir, you can't just walk in here." A sharp voice cut through my observations. A woman in her 30s approached, clipboard in hand, designer heels clicking against the marble. Her auburn hair was pulled into a severe bun, and her tailored suit screamed authority. "I'm Lana Park, the household manager. All visitors need to check in with me first." Household manager? I studied her face, noting the way her eyes assessed me like I was some vagrant who'd wandered in off the street. "I'm Nathan Carter," I said quietly. "I live here." Her expression didn't change. "I'm sorry, but I don't have any record of—" "Nathan?" The voice was barely a whisper, fragile as spun glass. I turned toward the kitchen entrance and felt my world tilt off its axis. Lauren stood there in a gray uniform, a cleaning cart beside her, rubber gloves on her hands. My wife, the woman I'd married 25 years ago, the mother of my children, the reason I'd fought to come home, looked at me like I was a stranger. Her once vibrant blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, streaked with silver I didn't remember. Lines etched her face where laughter used to live, and her green eyes held a wariness that cut through me like a blade. "Lauren!" Her name came out rougher than I intended. I stepped toward her, but she instinctively stepped back, bumping into her cleaning cart. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt," she said, not to me, but to Olivia. "I was just finishing the kitchen floors." "Finishing the floors?" My wife was apologizing for existing in her own home. "It's fine, Lauren," Lana said dismissively. Just make sure you stay out of the way. We have guests coming tonight." She turned back to me. "Mr. Carter, was it? I'll need to verify your identity before you can wander around the property." Before I could respond, voices echoed from the grand staircase. 3 figures descended like they owned the place, which technically they thought they did. Tyler, my eldest at 22, had inherited my height, but none of my discipline. His dark hair was styled with expensive product, and his clothes probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Maya, 19, moved with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never been told no. Her designer dress and perfect makeup spoke of unlimited resources and zero accountability. Felix, my youngest at 16, trailed behind them, trying to match their confident stride but not quite pulling it off. "Who's this?" Tyler asked, barely glancing at me before his attention shifted to Lauren. "And why is the help standing around instead of working?" "The help." He called his mother the help. Lauren's face flushed red, and she quickly grabbed her cleaning supplies. "I'm sorry, It's fine," Maya said with theatrical patience. "Just remember we have friends coming over tonight. The kitchen needs to be spotless, and make sure you stay in the back areas. We don't want you visible." I watched my daughter speak to her mother like she was discussing furniture placement. Lauren nodded quickly, her head down, and hurried back toward the kitchen. She hadn't looked at me again. "And you are?" Tyler's attention finally settled on me, his tone suggesting I was an inconvenience he was prepared to handle. "I'm your father." The silence that followed was profound. Tyler's expression cycled through confusion, recognition, and something that might have been disgust. Maya's perfectly applied lipstick formed a small O of surprise. Felix just stared. "Dad?" Felix was the first to speak, his voice cracking slightly. You came back?" "I said I would." Tyler recovered first, his face hardening into a mask of resentment. 12 years, he said. 12 years you've been gone, and now you just show up like nothing happened." "I had obligations." "Obligations?" Maya's voice rose. "We were your obligations. Mom was your obligation. But you chose some secret government work over your family." The words hit harder than enemy fire. "Maya, I did what I did to protect—" "To protect what?" Tyler stepped closer, and I could smell expensive cologne and entitlement. "This house? This money? Well, congratulations, Dad. We protected it just fine without you." Lana cleared her throat. Perhaps this family discussion should happen privately. I need to prepare for tonight's gathering. Right, Tyler said, not taking his eyes off me. Dad, you can use the guest suite, 3rd floor, east wing. Try not to bother the staff while you're here. The staff, like Lauren. Like his mother was just another employee to manage. Tyler, I started. We'll talk later, he cut me off. Right now, we have actual responsibilities to handle. They walked away, Maya linking her arm through Tyler's, Felix following after a hesitant glance in my direction. I stood alone in the foyer with Olivia, who was studying me with calculating eyes. The guest suite is quite comfortable, she said. I'll have someone show you up. And Mr. Carter? In the future, please coordinate with me before entering common areas. We run a tight schedule here. I nodded slowly, filing away every detail. The security camera in the corner flickered to life as I turned toward the staircase, its red light blinking once before going dark. I smiled quietly to myself. Some habits never fade. That evening, I sat at the far end of the dining room table, a table I'd bought in a room I'd designed, while my children entertained their friends. The conversation flowed around me like I was invisible, punctuated by laughter that never included me. Lauren appeared periodically, serving courses and refilling glasses, her movements efficient and practiced. She avoided eye contact with everyone, especially me. When Tyler's friend made a joke about the slow service, my son laughed along. Sorry about that, Tyler said. The help is getting old. Might be time for an upgrade. Maya giggled. Be nice, Tyler. Some of us are attached to the vintage staff. They talked about Lauren like she wasn't there, like she couldn't hear every word. My wife, the woman who used to command every room she entered, who raised these ungrateful children while I was deployed, had been reduced to a ghost in her own home. So, Dad, Tyler said, finally acknowledging my presence, what's the plan? Quick visit, and then back to whatever hole you've been hiding in? I'm home, I said simply. Home? Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. This stopped being your home a long time ago. We've built something here, something that works. Don't come in trying to change things just because you feel guilty. I don't feel guilty about serving my country. Your country, Tyler repeated. Right. Well, while you were serving your country, we were serving this family. We kept everything together, and we made the hard decisions. We earned our place here. By turning your mother into hired help? The table went quiet. Tyler's friends looked uncomfortable, but my children's faces hardened with defiance. Mom made her choices, Maya said coldly. She could have been part of what we built. Instead, she chose to live in the past, waiting for someone who was never coming back. But I did come back. 12 years too late, Tyler stood up. And frankly, Dad, I don't think you understand how things work anymore. This isn't your house. It's ours. We've been running it, maintaining it, living in it. You're just a guest here now. He gestured to his friends, and they began filing out of the dining room. Maya followed, pausing only to add, Try not to bother the staff, Dad. They have work to do. Felix lingered for a moment, looking torn between loyalty and peer pressure. Finally, he mumbled, Sorry, Dad, and hurried after his siblings. I sat alone at the table, listening to their laughter echo from the family lounge upstairs. Through the kitchen door, I could hear Lauren quietly cleaning up, the soft clink of dishes and the whisper of her movements. A security camera in the corner of the dining room flickered to life, its red light blinking twice before going dark again. I finished my wine and smiled. They thought the quiet old man who came home was powerless. They forgot what I was trained to do when it was time for justice. The next morning, I found myself in the estate garden, walking paths I'd designed but never had time to enjoy. The landscaping was immaculate, another reminder of the money I'd provided and the life I'd missed. Nathan? Nathan Carter? I turned to see an elderly woman approaching from the neighboring property. She was small and silver-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mrs. Hargrove, I said, recognizing our neighbor. It's good to see you. Oh my goodness, it really is you. She reached out to touch my arm, as if confirming I was real. Lauren said you might never come back. You've spoken with Lauren? Her face clouded. Oh, Nathan. You don't know, do you? What's been happening here? I gestured to a garden bench, and we sat together in the morning sun. Mrs. Hargrove was quiet for a long moment, gathering her thoughts. It started slowly, she began. After you'd been gone about 3 years, the children began changing. Tyler was in high school then. Maya was just entering her teens. They were angry, Nathan. Angry at you for leaving, angry at Lauren for letting you go. She didn't let me go. I had no choice. I know that, and deep down they probably knew it too. But children need someone to blame, and you weren't here to defend yourself. She told me how it had unfolded, the gradual erosion of Lauren's authority in her own home. It started with small rebellions, ignored curfews, dismissed rules, disrespectful language. When Lauren tried to discipline them, they'd threaten to leave, to go live with friends, to emancipate themselves. They knew she was terrified of losing them, too. Tyler turned 18 and gained access to his trust fund, Mrs. Hargrove continued. That's when everything changed. Suddenly he had money, real money, and he began treating the house like his personal kingdom. Maya followed his lead, and little Felix, well, he just wanted to belong somewhere. I listened as she described the systematic humiliation of my wife, how Tyler hired Lanus, a household manager, and insisted Lauren report to her, how Maya convinced Lauren that she was embarrassing them in front of their friends and should stay out of sight during social events, how they gradually moved her out of the master bedroom, then out of the family wing entirely, until she was living in what used to be the housekeeper's quarters. But why didn't she fight back? Lauren was never weak. Mrs. Hargrove's eyes filled with tears. She wasn't weak, Nathan. She was broken. 12 years of waiting, of hoping, of raising 3 children who blamed her for your absence. She convinced herself that if she just endured it, if she kept the family together somehow, you'd come home to something worth saving. The picture she painted was devastating. Lauren writing letters to me that were never sent, afraid they'd be intercepted or dismissed. Lauren working harder and harder to maintain a home that no longer felt like hers. Lauren accepting smaller and smaller spaces in her children's lives until she became what they wanted her to be, invisible. I tried to help, Mrs. Hargrove said. I invited her over for tea, tried to remind her who she used to be. But Nathan, she was so tired, so worn down. She started believing what they told her, that she was just the help, that she didn't deserve better. After Mrs. Hargrove left, I walked back into the house with new purpose. I needed to understand the full scope of what had happened here, and I needed evidence. My old study was exactly as I'd left it, which meant it had been locked and ignored for over a decade. Dust covered everything, my desk, my books, the framed photos of our family from happier times. It was like a museum exhibit, the life of Nathan Carter before. I spent the morning going through old files, letters, and documents. Hidden in a locked drawer, I found a stack of unsent letters in Lauren's handwriting. My hands shook as I read them. Nathan, the children are struggling without you. Tyler got suspended for fighting. He says it's because someone made a joke about his father running away. Nathan, Maya won't speak to me anymore. She blames me for letting you leave. She says if I'd been a better wife, you would have stayed. Nathan, I don't know how to do this anymore. They hate me, and I'm starting to think they're right to. Maybe I am the reason you left. Nathan, Tyler hired someone to manage the house. He says I'm not capable anymore. He might be right. I can't seem to do anything right these days. Nathan, they moved me out of our bedroom. They says it's too big for just one person, that I should be practical. I didn't fight it. I don't fight anything anymore. The letters chronicled 12 years of psychological warfare, and my wife had been losing ground every day. By the end, she wasn't even signing them Love Lauren anymore. She was signing them Your Wife, Lauren, like she needed to remind herself who she used to be. I was still reading when I heard voices from the kitchen. Moving quietly, old habits, I positioned myself where I could listen without being seen. Completely unacceptable, Tyler was saying. I specifically told you to stay out of sight when Dad's around. The last thing we need is him getting ideas about changing things. I'm sorry. Lauren's voice was small, defeated. I was just trying to prepare lunch. Well, try harder to be invisible, Maya added. It's awkward enough having him here without you making it weird by acting like you matter. Maya, please. Please what, Mom? Please pretend like you're still the lady of the house? Please act like Dad coming back changes anything? It doesn't. You're the help now because that's what works for this family. Don't ruin it by getting delusional. I heard footsteps, then Felix's voice, quieter but just as cutting. Mom, just do what they say, okay? It's easier for everyone. The kitchen fell silent except for the soft sound of Lauren crying. I gripped the doorframe hard enough to leave marks, every instinct screaming at me to storm in there and remind these ungrateful children exactly who they were talking to. But I'd learned patience in places where impatience carried the highest possible cost. I'd learned to gather intelligence, to plan, to strike when the moment was perfect. That afternoon, I made my way to the mansion's garage, a 6-car space that housed vehicles I'd never driven, but I wasn't interested in the cars. In the back corner, behind boxes of Christmas decorations and old furniture, I found what I was looking for. My personal safe, exactly where I'd hidden it before deployment. Inside were documents they'd never found, backup copies of all financial records, property deeds, trust fund documentation, and most importantly, the real terms of my will and estate planning. I also found something else, a secure satellite phone and a contact list that most people would assume was outdated. In my line of work, you never really retire. You just go inactive. I scrolled through the contacts until I found the name I wanted. Gavin Price, my old teammate, now running a security consulting firm, the kind of firm that specialized in problems requiring discretion and expertise. The phone rang twice before his familiar voice answered. "Well, imagine that. Nathan Carter. I heard you were still around." "Barely," I said. "I need a favor, Gavin." "Name it." "I need you to run background checks on some people. Financial records, communication logs, the works, and I might need some of the old crew for a family reunion." There was a pause. "Family trouble?" "The worst kind. My own." "Send me the details. And Nathan, it's good to have you back." As I ended the call, I heard laughter from upstairs, my children and their friends living it up in the family lounge while Lauren scrubbed floors below them. The sound of their amusement mixed with the distant noise of my wife's quiet suffering. I looked at the calendar on my phone. Tyler's 23rd birthday was in 5 days. Maya had mentioned they were planning a big celebration. Perfect. Every good operation needed the right stage for its finale. The third day of my homecoming brought new humiliations and new resolve. I woke early and made my way to the kitchen, hoping to find Lauren before the children started their daily routine of systematic dismissal. She was there, preparing breakfast with the efficiency of someone who'd learned to be invisible. When she saw me, she startled, nearly dropping the coffee pot. "I'm sorry," she said immediately. "I didn't know you'd be up this early. I can come back later." "Lauren, stop!" The sharpness in my voice made her freeze. "Stop apologizing for existing in your own home." Her eyes darted around like she expected Tyler or Maya to materialize and scold her for talking to me. "It's not my home anymore, Nathan. It's theirs. They've made that very clear." "They're wrong." "Are they?" She set down the coffee pot with shaking hands. "I've been thinking about it since you came back. Maybe they're right. Maybe I did fail as a mother. Maybe I am just... Don't." I stepped closer, and for the first time since I'd returned, she looked directly at me. "Don't let them rewrite history, Lauren. You didn't fail. I failed. I left you alone to raise 3 children who needed their father, and they took their anger out on the only parent they had left." Tears welled in her eyes. "But Nathan, you don't understand what it's been like. The things they say, the way they look at me. I started believing maybe they were right. Maybe I deserved... You deserve better than this." I reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and touched her hand. She didn't flinch. And they're about to learn that. Before she could ask what I meant, we heard footsteps on the main staircase. Lauren immediately pulled her hand away and busied herself with breakfast preparations, slipping back into her role as invisible help. Tyler entered first, already dressed in expensive casual wear, checking his phone with the absorbed attention of someone whose biggest worry was his social media presence. Maya followed, looking like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. "Morning," Tyler said without looking up from his phone. Then, noticing me, "Dad, didn't expect to see you up this early." "I'm an early riser." "Right. Military habits." He said it like it was a character flaw. "Well, just so you know, we've got people coming by today to discuss the birthday party logistics. Try to stay out of the way." Maya poured herself coffee, completely ignoring Lauren's presence, even though my wife was standing right next to her. "And make sure the coffee stays fresh," she said to the air, as if Lauren were a voice-activated appliance. "Maya," I said quietly, "that's your mother." She looked at me with genuine surprise, like I'd pointed out that the coffee maker was her mother. "What?" "The woman you're talking to like she's furniture. That's your mother." Tyler looked up from his phone, his expression darkening. "Dad, don't start this." "Start what? Expecting basic human decency?" "Look," Maya said, setting down her coffee cup with a sharp click. "I get that you feel guilty or whatever, but you don't understand the dynamics here. We've found a system that works. Mom has her role, we have ours. Everyone knows their place." "Her place is as your mother and the lady of this house." Tyler laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Lady of the house? Dad, look around. When was the last time Mom hosted a dinner party? When was the last time she made a decision about anything important? She's not the lady of the house. She's just someone who lives here. Because you've systematically destroyed her confidence and her sense of self-worth." "We've helped her find a role she can actually handle," Maya shot back. "Face it, Dad. Mom couldn't cope with running this place. She was falling apart before we stepped in." I looked at Lauren, who was standing with her head down, accepting this character assassination like it was deserved. The woman I'd married would have fought back, would have reminded these children exactly who raised them and sacrificed for them. But that woman had been worn away by years of psychological warfare. You're right about one thing, I said quietly. Everyone should know their place. Something in my tone made Tyler look up sharply. What's that supposed to mean? It means things are about to change around here. No, they're not. Tyler stood up, and I could see the entitled rage building behind his eyes. You don't get to come back after 12 years and start making demands. We've built something here, and we're not letting you destroy it because you feel guilty. What exactly have you built, Tyler? A kingdom where you can abuse your mother and play lord of the manor with money you didn't earn? Money I didn't earn? His voice rose. I've been managing this estate for 4 years. I've been making the decisions, handling the responsibilities, keeping everything running while you were off playing soldier. With my money, in my house, under my name. Your name? Maya joined the fight. Your name on what? You've been gone for 12 years. We're the ones who lived here, who maintained this place, who built relationships in this community. This is our home now. Felix appeared in the doorway, drawn by the raised voices. He looked between his siblings and me with obvious anxiety. Felix, I said, come here, son. He hesitated, glancing at Tyler and Maya before slowly approaching. Do you remember when your mother used to read to you? I asked. When she'd make your favorite cookies? When she'd stay up all night when you were sick? His face softened slightly. Yeah, I remember. That woman is still here, I said. She's just been convinced she doesn't matter anymore. Dad, don't, Felix said quietly. It's easier this way. When Mom tries to be in charge, everything gets complicated. Tyler and Maya know how to handle things. Handle things like what? Like the money, the house, the social stuff. Mom doesn't understand any of that. I looked at my youngest son, 16 years old and already convinced that his mother was worthless. Who told you that? Nobody told me. It's just obvious. Tyler stepped forward. Dad, this conversation is over. You can stay here as a guest, but you don't get to come in and start changing things that work, and you definitely don't get to undermine the authority we've built. Authority you've built over your mother. Authority we've built over our lives, Maya corrected. Mom can be part of it if she wants, but she has to accept her role. Her role is what? A servant in her own home? Her role is someone who contributes instead of just existing, Tyler said coldly. I felt something snap inside me. Not the explosive anger that leads to mistakes, but the cold fury that leads to precision. I see. Good, Maya said. Then we understand each other. Oh, we understand each other perfectly. I looked at each of them in turn, memorizing their faces, their arrogance, their absolute certainty that they held all the power. Enjoy your party planning. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving them to their victory celebration. But as I passed the hallway, I heard Tyler's voice, lower but still audible. We need to do something about this. Dad's going to be a problem. What do you want to do? Maya asked. I'm thinking it's time for Mom to find a new position, somewhere else, and Dad needs to understand that his welcome here has an expiration date. I smiled as I climbed the stairs to the guest suite. They thought they were planning my defeat. They had no idea they were planning their own. In my temporary quarters, I opened my laptop and began typing an email to Stanley Brooks, my estate lawyer. We needed to meet, and we needed to meet soon. Then I sent a text to Gavin. Timeline moved up. Need full package ready in 48 hours. His response came back immediately. Roger that. The boys are excited for a reunion. I looked out the window at the estate grounds, at the gardens and grounds I'd paid for but never enjoyed, at the mansion I'd built as a fortress for my family but which had become a prison for my wife. Tyler and Maya thought they'd won the war. They were about to learn they'd only won the opening skirmish. Stanley Brooks hadn't changed much in 12 years. His silver hair was perhaps a bit thinner, his expensive suits a bit more expensive, but his sharp eyes held the same calculating intelligence that had made him the best estate attorney in the city. We met at his downtown office, all dark wood and leather-bound law books, the kind of place where serious money made serious decisions. Nathan, he said, rising from behind his massive desk, I have to say, I wondered if I'd ever see you again. I always keep my appointments, Stanley. Indeed you do. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Though I suspect this isn't a social call. I need to review my estate documents, all of them. Stanley's eyebrows rose slightly. All of them? Nathan, we're talking about a considerable portfolio. The house, the investments, the trust funds, all of them, I repeated. And I need to understand exactly what authority my children currently have over my assets. Ah. Stanley leaned back in his chair, his expression growing serious. I see. And may I ask what's prompted this review? I told him. Not everything. Stanley didn't need to know about Gavin and the old crew, but enough. The systematic humiliation of Lauren. The children's assumption that they owned what I'd built. Their complete lack of respect for the woman who'd raised them. Stanley listened without interruption, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Nathan, I have to ask, are you certain about what you're considering? These are your children we're talking about. Are they? Because the people living in my house don't act like my children. They act like spoiled strangers who've convinced themselves they deserve what they've never earned. Even so, any major changes to your estate planning will have significant consequences, for them and for Lauren. The consequences for Lauren will be positive. She'll finally get what she's always deserved. Stanley nodded slowly. Very well, let me pull the files. For the next 2 hours, we went through everything. The original estate planning, the trust fund structures, the property deeds, the investment portfolios. What I learned was both infuriating and useful. Tyler and Maya had access to their trust funds, but those funds were ultimately controlled by the estate, meaning me. They'd been living off investment income and distributions I'd authorized before deployment, but the principal remained under my control. More importantly, the house, all of it, remained entirely in my name. They had no legal claim to it whatsoever. The irony, Stanley said, is that they've been living like owners of something they don't actually own. All their authority, all their control, it's been an illusion based on your absence. And now I'm not absent anymore. No, you're not. He leaned forward. Nathan, what exactly are you planning? I'm planning to remind my family who actually owns what, and I'm planning to make sure Lauren gets the respect and security she deserves. That could mean significant changes to the existing arrangements. It will mean whatever changes are necessary. Stanley made more notes. I'll need some time to prepare the documentation. What's your timeline? Tyler's birthday party is tomorrow night. I want everything ready by then. Tomorrow? Nathan, that's barely 24 hours. Stanley, I've spent 12 years in places where 24 hours was a lifetime. You can handle some paperwork. He smiled despite himself. I suppose I can. But Nathan, once we do this, there's no going back. Are you absolutely certain? I thought about Lauren scrubbing floors in her own home. I thought about Tyler calling her the help. I thought about Maya talking about her mother like she was disposable furniture. I'm certain. That afternoon, I met Gavin at a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where conversations could be held without attracting attention. He looked good, still fit, still alert, still carrying himself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd seen real action. You look like hell, he said by way of greeting. 12 years of black ops will do that to a man. I wasn't talking about the black ops. He studied my face. I was talking about whatever's eating you alive right now. I told him what I'd told Stanley, but with more detail. Gavin listened with the focused attention of someone who'd spent years analyzing threats and planning responses. So, he said when I finished, you want to remind some spoiled kids that their daddy isn't someone to mess with. I want to restore order to my home and dignity to my wife. Same thing? Different words? Gavin leaned back in his chair. I ran those background checks you asked for. Your kids have been busy little bees. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were financial records, communication logs, and surveillance photos I hadn't expected. Tyler's been skimming from the household accounts, Gavin said. Not enough to trigger automatic alerts, but enough to fund a pretty lavish lifestyle. Maya's been doing the same thing, plus she's been using the house as collateral for some questionable investments. Collateral? She can't use the house as collateral. She can if she forges your signature on some documents, which she did, 3 times. I felt that cold fury building again. What else? Your household manager, Lana Park, has been taking kickbacks from service providers, inflated invoices, fake maintenance contracts, the works. She's been splitting the profits with your kids. And Felix? Felix is clean, mostly. He's been going along with his siblings, but he hasn't been actively participating in the financial stuff. I think he's just trying to survive in a toxic environment. I studied the photos. Tyler at expensive restaurants, Maya shopping with money that should have been going to household expenses, Lana meeting with contractors who were billing me for work that was never done. There's more, Gavin said. I had the boys install some surveillance equipment in your house yesterday while everyone was out. Audio and video completely undetectable. We've been recording everything for the last 18 hours. Everything? Everything, including a conversation between Tyler and Maya about how to get rid of you and Lauren permanently. I looked up sharply. Get rid of us how? They're planning to have you declared mentally incompetent. Apparently your erratic behavior since returning home is evidence of PTSD or some other psychological condition that makes you unfit to manage your affairs. They've already contacted a psychiatrist who's willing to provide the right diagnosis for the right price. And Lauren? They want her committed to a care facility. Depression, they're saying. She's become a danger to herself and others. Once she's out of the way, they'll have complete control of the estate. I stared at the photos, at the evidence of my children's betrayal, at the documentation of their plan to destroy what remained of their parents' lives. When were they planning to execute this? Soon. They were talking about moving forward right after Tyler's birthday party. Use the celebration as a way to demonstrate their competence and your instability. I closed the folder and looked at my old teammate. Gavin, I need you and the boys ready tomorrow night. Full tactical support. What kind of tactical support? The kind that makes it very clear that some people have made very bad decisions. Gavin smiled, and for a moment, he looked like the dangerous man I'd served with in places that didn't exist. It'll be good to work together again. The boys have missed the old days. So have I. That evening, I returned to the mansion to find preparations for Tyler's party in full swing. Caterers moved through the house, decorators hung expensive banners, and my children supervised everything with the authority of people who believed they owned it all. I found Lauren in the kitchen, staying out of everyone's way while trying to help where she could. She looked exhausted, overwhelmed by the chaos of preparing for a celebration that she clearly wasn't invited to attend. "Lauren," I said quietly. She looked up, startled. "Nathan, I didn't see you there. Can we talk? Privately?" She glanced around nervously. "I don't know if I should. Tyler said I need to stay focused on the preparations, and Maya said..." "I don't care what Tyler and Maya said." Something in my tone made her look at me more carefully. "Nathan, what's wrong? You look different." "I am different. And after tomorrow night, everything else is going to be different too." "What do you mean?" I moved closer, speaking quietly so only she could hear. "Lauren, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" I don't know. It's been so long, and things are so complicated now." "They're not complicated. They're wrong, and I'm going to fix them." She searched my face, looking for something she'd lost years ago. "Nathan, what are you planning?" "I'm planning to give you back your life, your home, your dignity, everything they've taken from you." Tears welled in her eyes. "It's too late for that. I'm not the woman I used to be." "Yes, you are. You're just buried under 12 years of their lies and manipulation. But you're still there, Lauren. The woman I married, the mother who raised 3 children, the person who deserves so much better than this, she's still there." "But what if she's not? What if they're right about me?" "They're not right about anything, and tomorrow night everyone's going to know it." Before she could ask more questions, Tyler's voice boomed from the dining room. "Where's the help? These glasses aren't going to polish themselves." Lauren immediately started to move toward the sound, but I caught her arm gently. "After tomorrow night," I said, "no one will ever call you the help again." She looked at me with a mixture of hope and terror, like someone who'd been in prison so long that freedom seemed more frightening than captivity. "Promise me something," I said. "What?" "Tomorrow night, when things start happening, don't try to stop them. Don't try to protect Tyler and Maya from the consequences of their choices. Can you do that?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Nathan, are you going to hurt them?" "I'm going to teach them. There's a difference." As she walked away to answer Tyler's summons, I checked my phone. A text from Gavin. "Package delivered. Ready for deployment." Another text from Stanley. "Documents prepared. Standing by for execution." I looked around the mansion, my mansion, at the preparations for a party celebrating a son who'd betrayed everything I'd taught him in honor of a birthday funded by money he'd stolen, surrounded by luxury he'd never earned. Tomorrow night, Tyler would get a birthday present he'd never forget. They all would. The morning of Tyler's 23rd birthday dawned clear and cold, the kind of day that felt like a fresh start. I woke before sunrise and spent an hour in the estate gym, a room that had been locked since my return, probably because my children assumed I was too old and broken to use it. I wasn't old, and I definitely wasn't broken. By the time I finished my workout and shower, the house was already buzzing with activity. Caterers, decorators, and service staff moved through the mansion with the organized chaos of a major event. Tyler and Maya supervised everything with the imperious authority of people who'd never been told no. I found Felix in the kitchen, looking overwhelmed by all the activity. At 16, he was caught between childhood and whatever twisted version of adulthood his siblings represented. "Big day," I said, sitting down across from him. He looked up from his cereal, surprised. "Yeah, I guess. Tyler's really excited about the party." "Are you excited about it?" Felix shrugged. "It's fine, I guess. Lots of people I don't really know, talking about stuff I don't really care about. But you'll be there." "Tyler says I have to be." family image and all that. I studied my youngest son, looking for traces of the little boy who used to build model airplanes with me before deployment. Felix, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you remember your mother before I left? Really remember her? His face shifted, and for a moment I saw genuine emotion break through the practiced indifference. Yeah, I remember. What was she like? She was different, stronger, I guess. She used to make decisions about stuff, used to tell us what to do. She laughed more. He paused. But that was a long time ago, Dad. Things changed. Things changed, or people changed them? Felix looked uncomfortable. I don't know. It just happened. Tyler and Maya got older, started handling more stuff. Mom couldn't keep up. Couldn't keep up, or wasn't allowed to keep up? What's the difference? The difference is everything, son. Before Felix could respond, Tyler swept into the kitchen like he owned the place, which in his mind he did. Dad, good, you're here. He was dressed in an expensive suit, his hair perfectly styled, radiating the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. We need to talk about tonight. I'm listening. The party starts at 7. We've got about 60 people coming, friends, business associates, some community leaders. It's important for the family image that everything goes smoothly. I'm sure it will. Right, well, here's the thing. We think it would be best if you kept a low profile tonight. Maybe make an appearance, say hello to a few people, but then, let us handle the hosting duties. Let you handle the hosting duties in my house. Tyler's expression tightened slightly. Dad, we've talked about this. This is our home now. We're the ones who've built relationships here, who understand how things work. You've been gone too long to just jump back into the social scene. I see. And Lauren? What about her? Will she be keeping a low profile too? Maya appeared in the doorway, looking stunning in a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Mom will be working tonight, obviously. We can't have her wandering around confusing the guests. Confusing them how? Dad, come on, Tyler said with exaggerated patience. Look at her. Look at how she acts. She's not exactly lady of the manor material anymore. It's better for everyone if she stays in the background. Better for everyone or better for you? Better for the family, Maya said firmly. We've worked hard to build our reputation in this community. We can't have Mom undermining that because you feel sentimental. I nodded slowly, filing away every word, every casual dismissal of the woman who'd given them life. I understand. Good, Tyler said, looking relieved. I knew you'd be reasonable about this. Oh, I'm being very reasonable. Something in my tone made him look at me more carefully, but before he could ask questions, Lana Park appeared in the kitchen doorway. Tyler, Maya, we need to review the final arrangements, she said briskly. And someone needs to make sure the staff understands their roles for tonight. Right, Maya said. Dad, we'll see you tonight. Remember, low profile. They left me alone with Felix, who was staring into his cereal bowl like it contained the secrets of the universe. Felix, I said quietly. Yeah? Tonight's going to be interesting. What do you mean? You'll see. But son, when things start happening, remember something. Your mother is not the enemy. She never was. He looked up at me with confused eyes. Dad, what's going to happen tonight? Justice, I said simply. The afternoon passed in a blur of final preparations. I stayed out of the way, watching my children orchestrate their celebration with military precision. They'd learned organization from me, even if they'd forgotten everything else I'd taught them. Around 5 o'clock, I retreated to my old study to make final preparations of my own. Stanley had delivered everything I'd requested, documents, contracts, legal filings, all prepared and ready for execution. Gavin had confirmed that his team was in position around the estate, invisible but ready. I also found a note that Lauren had slipped under the door. Nathan, I don't know what you're planning, but I'm scared. Not of you, but of hoping again. What if things can't be fixed? What if I really am what they say I am? Please be careful tonight. Whatever happens, I don't want you to get hurt because of me. L. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it in my jacket pocket. She was wrong about one thing. Tonight wasn't about me getting hurt. Tonight was about other people learning what happened when you hurt the people I loved. At 6:30, I dressed in my best suit, the one I'd worn to military ceremonies, the one that reminded me who I used to be and who I still was underneath. When I looked in the mirror, I saw not the tired old man who'd come home 3 days ago, but the operative who'd spent 12 years handling problems that required precision and resolve. The guests began arriving at 7, and I watched from the second-floor landing as Tyler and Maya worked the room like professional politicians. They were good at it, Charming, confident, completely in control of their domain. They introduced themselves as the hosts, accepted congratulations on the beautiful home, and graciously accepted compliments on their success. My success, my home, my money paying for their performance. Lauren appeared periodically, serving drinks and clearing plates, invisible to the guests and ignored by her children. She moved through the party like a ghost haunting her own life. At 8 o'clock, I received a text from Gavin. Perimeter secure, standing by. At 8:15, Stanley sent a message. All documents filed and recorded. Legal authority confirmed. At 8:30, I walked downstairs to join Tyler's birthday celebration. The grand ballroom was magnificent, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over elegantly dressed guests, a string quartet playing softly in one corner, servers moving smoothly through the crowd with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It was exactly the kind of event I'd imagined hosting when I bought this house 20 years ago. Tyler saw me first, his face tightening slightly before he forced a smile. "Dad, glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said. "It's quite a party." "Thanks. Maya and I put a lot of work into it." "I can see that. Very impressive." He relaxed slightly, probably thinking I was going to behave myself. "Can I get you a drink?" "That would be nice." As Tyler moved toward the bar, I surveyed the room. About 60 guests, just as he'd said. Community leaders, business associates, friends, people who mattered in this city, people whose opinions carried weight. Perfect. Maya appeared at my elbow, looking stunning and confident. "Dad, I want you to meet some people." She led me to a group of well-dressed couples. "Everyone, this is my father, Nathan Carter." Nathan!" A distinguished man in his 50s extended his hand. "I'm Richard Blackwood from the country club. Your children have told us so much about you." "All good things, I hope?" "Oh, absolutely. Tyler and Maya are such assets to our community. You must be very proud." "I'm learning a lot about them," I said carefully. The conversation continued for several minutes. Polite small talk about the community, the house, the family. I played my role as the proud father, letting Tyler and Maya bask in their assumed glory while I memorized faces and names. At 9 o'clock, Tyler called for attention. The string quartet stopped playing, and conversations gradually quieted as all eyes turned to my eldest son. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice carrying easily through the ballroom. "It means the world to Maya and me to celebrate with such wonderful friends and neighbors." Maya stepped up beside him. "This house has been our family's home for many years, and we're so grateful to be able to share it with all of you." Our family's home. I noticed Lauren standing in the doorway to the kitchen, watching her children claim ownership of everything she'd lost. 23 years ago today, Tyler continued, I came into this world as part of the Carter family legacy. Tonight, I want to thank everyone who's helped me become the man I am today. He went on for several minutes, talking about responsibility, family, community leadership. He thanked Maya for being his partner in managing the estate. He thanked various guests for their friendship and support. He thanked Lana for her excellent management of the household. He never mentioned Lauren. As Tyler's speech wound down, I checked my phone. A text from Gavin. "Ready when you are." Tyler raised his champagne glass. "So here's to family, to friends, and to the future we're building together." The crowd raised their glasses and began to applaud. In the midst of the celebration, I stepped forward. "Excuse me," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. "Before we toast the future, I think we should talk about the past." The applause faded away, and all eyes turned to me. Tyler's face drained of color, and Maya looked like she'd seen an apparition. "Dad," Tyler said carefully, "this isn't really the time?" "Actually, son, this is exactly the time." I moved to the center of the room, positioning myself where everyone could see me clearly. The guests looked confused but interested. Family drama was always entertaining, especially at someone else's party. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice carrying the authority I'd learned in briefing rooms and command centers, "I think there are some things you should know about the Carter family legacy." The ballroom fell silent except for the soft clink of champagne glasses being set down on tables. 60 pairs of eyes focused on me as I stood in the center of the room, surrounded by the luxury I'd paid for and the family I'd failed to protect. Tyler mentioned the Carter family legacy. I continued, my voice calm and measured. I think it's time everyone understood what that legacy really is. "Dad, please," Maya started, but I held up a hand. For 12 years, I served my country in places I can't name, doing things I can't discuss. I left behind a wife and 3 children, believing I was protecting them, providing for them, building something they could be proud of. I gestured around the ballroom. "This house, these grounds, everything you see here, I built it for them. Every mission, every sacrifice, every day I spent away from the people I loved was justified by the belief that I was securing their future. Tyler stepped forward, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Dad, this isn't appropriate. What's not appropriate, I said, my voice hardening, is what I found when I came home. I pulled out my phone and nodded toward the back of the room. On cue, Gavin appeared in the doorway, followed by 3 other men in dark suits. They moved with the quiet efficiency of professionals, positioning themselves at strategic points around the ballroom. The guests began to murmur nervously, sensing that this was more than a family disagreement. Ladies and gentlemen, I continued, I'd like you to meet some of my former colleagues. They've been helping me understand what's been happening in my absence. A large screen descended from the ceiling, part of the ballroom's entertainment system that Tyler and Maya had installed for their parties. Gavin operated a tablet, and suddenly the screen filled with financial records. These are bank statements from the Carter estate accounts, I announced. Over the past 4 years, approximately $800,000 has been diverted from household and maintenance accounts into personal spending by Tyler and Maya Carter. The numbers were stark, undeniable. Restaurant bills, shopping sprees, luxury vacations, all funded by money meant for estate management. Tyler's face went white. Dad, you can't do this. I can do whatever I want in my own house, I said quietly, which brings me to my next point. The screen changed to show property deeds and legal documents. Despite what my children may have told you, I am the sole owner of this estate. Every acre, every building, every piece of furniture you see belongs to me. Maya found her voice. That's not, we've been managing, you've been stealing, I corrected, and not just money. The screen changed again, this time showing forged documents. 3 times in the past 2 years, Maya Carter forged my signature on loan documents, using this property as collateral for personal investments. That's fraud, ladies and gentlemen, felony fraud. The guests were no longer just confused, they were horrified. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was a criminal confession. But the financial crimes pale in comparison to what they've done to their mother. I gestured toward the kitchen doorway, where Lauren stood frozen with shock. I'd like you all to meet Lauren Carter, my wife of 25 years, the mother of these 3 children, and the rightful lady of this house. Dad, don't, Felix said quietly, but I could see the shame in his eyes. For 12 years, while I was serving our country, Lauren raised our children alone. She maintained this house, managed this estate, and sacrificed everything for their well-being. And how did they repay her? The screen changed to show video footage, Gavin's surveillance from the past few days. The guests watched in stunned silence as Tyler called Lauren the help, as Maya dismissed her mother like furniture, as both of them systematically humiliated the woman who'd given them life. They turned her into a servant in her own home, I said, my voice carrying across the silent ballroom. They convinced her she was worthless, that she deserved nothing better than to scrub their floors and stay invisible during their parties. Lauren was crying now, but she hadn't moved from the doorway. I caught her eye and nodded slightly. But tonight, that changes. I pulled out a folder of documents, the papers Stanley had prepared. As of this moment, Tyler Carter and Maya Carter are no longer welcome in this house. Their trust fund access is revoked, their credit cards are canceled, and their belongings will be packed and delivered to whatever address they provide. You can't do this, Tyler shouted. This is our home. No, I said calmly. This is my home, and you are no longer welcome in it. Maya stepped forward, her face contorted with rage. We'll fight this. We'll have you declared incompetent. You'll do nothing, Gavin said, speaking for the first time. His voice was quiet, but carried the unmistakable authority of someone who'd handled much more dangerous situations than spoiled children. Because if you try, we'll turn over all the evidence we've gathered to the district attorney. Fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse, that's serious prison time. The ballroom was completely silent now. The guests stood frozen, witnessing the complete destruction of everything Tyler and Maya had built their lives around. Furthermore, I continued, effective immediately, all estate assets are being transferred to Lauren Carter. The house, the accounts, the investments, everything now belongs to the woman who should have had it all along. I walked over to Lauren, who was staring at me with a mixture of shock and disbelief. Lauren Carter, I said formally, I'd like you to meet your guests. This is your house, your party, and your decision what happens next. For a moment, she didn't move. 20 years of conditioning, of being told she was worthless, of accepting invisibility as her role, it all held her frozen in the doorway. Then something shifted in her eyes. The woman I'd married, the woman who'd commanded every room she entered, the woman who'd raised 3 children and managed an estate and held a family together through 12 years of absence, She began to emerge. Lauren walked into the ballroom, her back straight, her head high. The guests parted before her like she was royalty returning to claim her throne. "Tyler," she said, her voice steady and clear. "Maya, you have 1 hour to pack your personal belongings and leave my house." "Mom, you can't," Maya started. "I can do anything I want," Lauren said, and for the first time in years she sounded like she believed it. "This is my home, and you are no longer welcome in it." Tyler looked around the room desperately, seeking support from the guests who'd admired him just minutes before, but the evidence was overwhelming, the crimes undeniable, and the humiliation complete. "Felix," I said, turning to my youngest son, "you have a choice to make." He looked between his siblings and his parents, torn between loyalty and justice. Finally, he walked over to Lauren and took her hand. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry for everything." She pulled him into a hug, and for the first time since I'd returned home, I saw her smile. Tyler and Maya stood alone in the center of the ballroom, surrounded by the wreckage of their assumed authority. The guests watched in fascination and horror as the golden children of the community were revealed as common criminals who'd abused their own mother. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, "the party is over." Gavin stepped forward, and his team moved in perfect coordination. "Tyler Carter, Maya Carter, you need to leave now. Security will escort you to collect your belongings." "This isn't over," Tyler snarled, but his voice cracked with desperation. "We'll fight this. You'll do exactly what you're told," Gavin said quietly, "or you'll be arrested. Your choice." As Tyler and Maya were escorted out of the ballroom, the guests began filing out as well, murmuring among themselves about what they'd witnessed. The story would be all over the community by morning, the Golden Carter children exposed as frauds and criminals, their mother restored to her rightful place. Within minutes, the ballroom was empty, except for Lauren, Felix, me, and Gavin's team. The silence was profound after the chaos of revelation and reckoning. Lauren stood in the center of the room, looking around at her restored domain with wonder and disbelief. "Is it really over?" she asked. "It's over," I said. "You're home, Lauren. Really home." She walked over to me, studying my face like she was seeing me for the first time in years. "Nathan, what you did tonight." "What I did tonight was long overdue." Gavin approached, tablet in hand. "The perimeter is secure, and Tyler and Maya are off the property. Their belongings will be delivered tomorrow." "Thank you," I said. "All of you." "Just like old times," Gavin smiled, though I have to say this was more satisfying than most of our operations. As Gavin and his team prepared to leave, I looked around the ballroom one last time. The party decorations still hung from the ceiling, the champagne glasses still sat on tables, but everything had changed. The kingdom Tyler and Maya had built on lies and cruelty had fallen in a single evening. Justice had been served with surgical precision, and the people who deserved to suffer had suffered completely. Lauren took my hand, her grip firm and sure for the first time in years. Felix stood beside us, no longer torn between loyalty and truth. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," I said. "We rebuild, the right way this time." As we walked out of the ballroom together, I heard Tyler's voice echoing from outside, angry, desperate, making threats he couldn't back up. But his words carried no power anymore. He was just another entitled child learning that actions have consequences. The Carter family legacy had been restored, and the people who'd tried to destroy it had been eliminated with the efficiency I'd learned in 12 years of Black Ops. Sometimes you have to show strength to be truly understood,